guys? I am back for game number 2 of RD2L Season 25. Hopefully I get the team names this time. Grand Crusade, okay, versus PogChimps. So game 1 was won by Grand Crusade in pretty convincing fashion. I wasn't convinced by the bristleback pick by PogChimps. And once again, we see the OD band. I think that was banned out last game. That was like one of the few heroes that I did see. And the Tinker band. So I think that was just because the Jug had a miserable time bot lane and was like, yeah, let me not deal with the Tinker. So yeah, and they banned it out. Bane and Spiritbreaker. Bane is a strong hero. Spiritbreaker is a strong hero. Bans from Radiant. So Queen of Pain actually picked up by Grand Crusade. It is a great flex pick for them, I suppose. You can play it mid, you can play it as a support, you can play it off lane, I don't suggest it. Same thing with Weaver. These are two very, very open heroes that can be played in just about any position. A Lion picked. Wow, okay. I guess Lion makes sense. You're against a Weaver. You want a hero with a ton of bursts. And Lion plus Queen of Pain definitely makes it very easy to pick off this Weaver. It does worry me a little that you're picking two heroes that do a lot of magic damage early. Because you are potentially leaving yourself just kind of exposed to something like something like a Tide or something like an Underlord, or just really beefy frontliners, and you're just kind of unable to run them over, or like even something like a Night Stalker who just runs at you, or squishy backliners. And also BKBs are going to be very, very good against this combo. So I'm not too sure about this opener. We'll see. I like Radiant's opener much more. Weaver plus Kunkka is solid. You have a lot of burst. You know, because Kunkka actually, a lot of people don't think Kunkka has a lot of burst, but he really does. He can kill a majority of heroes once he hits level 6 if you're a mid Kunkka, and as a safe lane Kunkka, you can build armlet and crit and all those items and do a massive amount of damage in every single team fight. And especially with a Weaver, you know, the minus armor on the creep that you're cleaving will actually make the additional damage go through. So yeah, it's a lesser known combo. I think it's quite good. And also Kunkka just enables Weaver so much. If you play the both as cores, Kunkka can always exo Weaver. Weaver just Shikuchis in, hits buildings, things like that. And Weaver, if it's a support for Kunkka, can always just save him from tough, like, you know, having saving him once his BKB goes down and he's stuck in the middle of a battle or something like that. So there's a lot of synergies between these two heroes. Also, time lapse plus X are pretty cool skills. They kind of do the reverse of each other. And Tide and Doom bans and Puck ban. The Puck ban, I think, makes sense. You know, it's another hero that kind of does well into the Queen of Pain, Death Prophet too. I'm guessing that like these silence bans means that this is going to be a mid Queen of Pain. Otherwise, there's no real reason to ban these heroes out. You pick the Lion. Lion is a great counter to Puck. The instant disables are the thing that Puck fears pretty much the most. And then on the other side, the Doom ban. I wonder if that's just a hero that USS plays. Because there's no real reason to ban Doom. We'll see. We'll see a Wraith King ban here. I guess they don't want a hero that just frontlines too well for these two, especially on the carry position. It makes sense. It's a hero that what's it called? S has played. So if I'm Dire, I'm thinking of banning out something that's will give Radiant more damage, because even though there's burst from Radiant right now, they don't have a ton of consistent damage. Weaver does give you a little bit, but if it's a support Weaver, you're not getting a ton of damage from him. And so a DK, alright, disables a tanky frontliner, something that enables both the Weaver and the Kunkka. I can see it. And now, for Dire, you really want to pick something that will frontline for you well, right? Like, this might be a game where You wanted to pick the DK, but because they banned out DK, they're left, I think, picking something like a Mars, or something that can just kind of go in and initiate for them. Let's see what they actually look at. Panda, yeah, of course, Panda, great hero. And USS played a very good Panda. And for Radiant, you want something to disrupt this Queen of Pain Lion Brewmaster combo, because right now it looks like they're just going to run at you. I think a Silencer will be disgusting, because the second you see anyone jump in, you just global. And Silencer also works well for Kunkka. It lets you freely combo. And with Silencer plus Weaver, yes, you're going to lack a little bit on disables, but you can kind of cover that with your last two remaining picks. You know, so I would seriously consider Silencer here. Or if you're worried that Silencer's not a great pick into these heroes, you can pick Disruptor. Yeah, Disruptor kind of works in these scenarios. It's a hero that Hollywood, I guess, plays. And Disruptor is able to cancel out Brewmaster, cancel out Lion, cancel out Queen of Pain. The reason why I like the Silencer more is because Silencer has one button to press and Disruptor has two. 3. And it's so much easier to play Silencer in matches like these. It's because it's like, even if you don't time it perfectly, you could disrupt so many things. Disruptor, if the Brewmaster just blinks in, you have to react pretty fast to get him before his ulti. Because if you don't, he's just going to instantly blink ulti. And make your silence go to waste. Viper coming out, kind of a disgusting hero. I like it, but you know, Viper's the type of hero you pick if you are telling yourself, I really don't know what to do. You know? And I do think this means that it is the support Queen of Pain. I don't think they're going to last pick another support, so... Alright, so maybe like a 4 position Queen of Pain, 5 position Lion for 10 winning tickles respectively. But I mean, this is just looking like such a good Viper game now. Viper's is gonna feast. You know, one thing is, Razor is a good hero against Viper, but Viper is also a very good hero against Razor. One, because Viper, the poison stacks don't really care too much about how much damage Razor steals, and also the ulti doesn't care about how much damage Razor steals. So Razor can just die to Viper very early on, and like the slow also lets you kite out the static link too. And eventually you get a ton of range, it makes it hard for Razor to kind of run in. So just a lot of things that Viper's good at. Also Viper, if you give him enough space, is going to be like a strong BKB carrier. So a lot of things going for this Viper. The downside to the Viper is it's like one of those heroes that just wins lane, loses game. You know, you're gonna look really good, but then during team fights you're kind of like a immobile glass cannon. If you don't go BKB, and if you do go BKB, you're an immobile tanky cannon. Sort of tanky, I don't even know if you can call it cannon, tanky shotgun, and like you do some damage here and there. Yeah, Clockwork fanned out, not really too sure. I don't really believe in Clockwork as a hero right now. I guess it is set up and it lets you kill off the Lion and the Queen of Pain, excuse me. Grimstroke ban, again, weird. I don't know, I think they think it's still Queen of Pain, but so they're banning out more supports, but I think this is a Queen of Pain support. Yeah, and Mars. Okay, so they're making the call that Kunkka is the carry, and that's why they picked the Razor too, but I think Kunkka offlane is fine, you know, like Kunkka offlane is very strong. But I guess Dire doesn't really need to worry too much about it. They can flex this Razor mid or flex the carry, so whichever one they don't see here, they're just gonna put the Razor, they're gonna last pick the other role. And for Radiant, I seriously consider thinking of a hero that can just give them a bit more team fight. Just something that can lock down heroes, because right now, even though they have the Disruptor and the Kunkka, there's no catch after these heroes run away. So maybe something like a Void. Void also is pretty decent against Razor, breaks static link pretty easily if you know, you're far enough away. Drow Ranger, okay, so alright. That's a hero that kind of deals with Razor, and I don't believe Brewmaster's ulti works against Drow Ranger, so Drow Ranger can just kill the Brewmaster ult. Okay. Well, I mean, there's some jump heroes on Dire, but yeah, I can definitely see Drow Ranger being a decent pick here. And for, I guess for a Dire, what that means is you go for some hero that can gap close. I'd imagine that one of the, something like Storm might be decent here. I know Storm's not great versus Drow Ranger because the silence is annoying, but you just need something. Oh, okay, so it is a mid Queen of Pain. Alright, so they just pick the Ogre again. Oh boy, so Ogre, Razor, and a Brewmaster, the Queen of Pain. Honestly, I like Radiant's draft quite a bit more. I think this Dire draft feels very, very one-dimensional. You don't have the same engage tools that you did last game, and you don't have the best carry matchup. Razor into Drow Ranger is just, you know, if you can get on top of the Drow, I guess you can potentially kill her, but any Drow that's kind of like decent is just going to go Pike, and make it very difficult for Razor to ever keep the static link. And once you get outranged, I mean, who's killing this Drow Ranger? I mean, it has to be the Panda, but there's just so many ways of disrupting the Panda this game. You know, like the Kunkka and the Weaver, they're not like straight up counters to the Panda, but they can make Panda's life rather miserable just by continuously breaking blinks. Eventually, the Weaver's gonna get the Ags. Yeah, so hopefully. This is a slightly closer game because last game was just a little bit too much of a stomp for my liking, and so yeah, it does look like it's a mid Viper too. So it is a support Kunkka with a offlane Weaver. Oh, that I don't know about that. That seems strange. I think that's a little bit too out of the box thinking. Maybe they feel like they're strong enough to do so, like the Weaver player is strong enough to play that, but man, maybe it's just a flex because they saw the Razor and you don't want to play Kunkka into Razor because it is miserable to be a melee hero against Razor, but not really sure, we'll see. It does look like Venezuela does play Weaver a lot, so alright, and Lion, wow, 15 and 5 is Lion, so Ticket was flexing a little bit on that Lion. Very nice. Sorry, took a bit of a sip of water. Good luck, have fun. Very nice. Let's go over the starting items this time. Boots plus absent. Okay, alright. I guess you don't want your Tangos? Alright. I mean, maybe you vary out the Tangos under the battling rings. I think you vary out this. I think you vary out the sentries normally. It's possible to support to buy the sentries. You can't afford it because it's so miserable going here without regen. Because if you can take any damage, you're just gonna get walked back to base. Yeah. And Kunkka needs XP. It's not a support that can fight. Weaver with some decently aggressive items. Yeah, you did go for Slippers and Circlet, so ready to brawl it out in this top lane. With the standard regen items. Drow with a lot of just damage, hoping your support can stop you enough. And mid lane, pretty standard. Fairy Fire, I think, is preferred over Mango for me. I do get why you're Viper. You buy this Mango so you can play a bit more aggressively. But I think versus Queen of Pain, you really don't worry all that much. So, we'll see. Disruptor, I don't think really level up Thunderstrike, so looking to train in this lane. Disruptor can just fight here. You got 3 Mangoes. Win lanes on the line. Okay. So I think we'd really just can focus on this mid lane for a bit. Do want to turn on the last hits and denies. Yeah, sorry. I think I switched his network later, right? Yeah, I think I did. But yeah, so the way you want to play this matchup as Viper is you just pull the creeps a lot. You don't want anything just freely hitting this, because you know this, like you want to play a very aggressive on one, because the second Point of Pain hits like level 2, level 3, it's much harder for you to like really deny her. So you can't deny this. Yes, very nice. So Viper is just a little bit ahead, but Point of Pain hits level 2 now, and with Blink, I don't think she's actually going to die. But you should take a lot of damage. And Viper is one of those heroes that essentially makes every matchup kind of miserable. Yeah, like, it doesn't matter how skilled the opponent is if you're playing Viper. Like, it's just tough. Now, you expect pretty much to lose your matchup when you're laning against a Viper, but you have to see how badly you lose. Like, this is a very Viper favored matchup. Like, Viper should be absolutely crushing it, but he's kind of not. He's kind of trading a little bit too much and not getting a ton out of this lane. Oh, in top lane, yeah, this Weaver is getting shoved out instead. I mean, Razor Ogre is strong. And bot lane, this Panda's gonna suffer a bit, but it's not so bad. You know, it's not like they're going to die. And once the Panda gets a few levels, I think it is fine. Panda does do really badly against melee hero. I mean, sorry, range heroes. So, especially Drow. Drow is an aggressive laner. Like, Drow is the type of laner who can like get 4 or 5 kills if you're not careful. And Panda has to be a bit careful here. You know, if Drow just kind of goes in, Panda could be taking a lot of damage, and because you don't have a ton of range yet, because of how greedy the Science build was. So actually a kill on the Weaver, really well done by this top lane duo, just ending Weaver's life, making this lane kind of miserable. I thought this was going to be better, but I guess not. I guess this kind of dual lane not well. Tigering early level picked up by this Kunkka. I think you're supposed to go X, but alright. I don't know. Yeah, pretty good job actually by Point of Pain to just kind of like keep this lane relatively even. You know, like this Point of Pain's not getting destroyed in the lane, which I think is something you could be happy about as a Dire. Like, this Point of Pain needs to have some game, because otherwise, all three of your, your bot lane and your mid lane is going to be in trouble, and your top lane, eventually, I mean, I think eventually this Weaver's going to be fine. Razor's, like, having a good time now, but once this Weaver gets a few levels, and more levels in Shikuchi, I think Static Link's going to be less useful. And things are just going to go a lot better for Radiant. And actually, really good play by this Kunkka. I think he might actually land this one too. Wow, good play by Pinkling here to just disrupt this Queen of Pain's game. And now Queen of Pain's just kind of sad. You know, remember that you buy Timberlands, but you're going on the Viper. I don't think you do that. You can just die if you go on the Viper. Yeah. I think it was honestly a good call. If the Viper just manned up there and just kind of like fought both of them would be looking to die. Good dodge. I mean, he's playing this lane right, but it's Viper. Like, this hero doesn't really lose lanes. Like, you lose to maybe like you know, maybe like Bristleback or something. I don't think even Bristle like does too well in the Viper. At least not in the mid lane. In the off lane, yeah. Bristle can just make so good and just play aggressive on Viper. And yeah, I think the top lane's kind of just smoothed out. Razor is a little bit ahead in this lane, but it's not major. And yeah, with this Shikuchi, just sort of disengage from any aggression. But I will say that this Weaver is being forced to use a ton of regen. It's not fun. Like, Shikuchi, unfortunately, it's like a really strong skill when you're able to just go in with it. But when you have to constantly use the run, it means You're just not getting too much done, right? Like, you want to be able to constantly cast a skill, like 3 or 4 times in a fight. And you're forced to just run away with it. There's no next play to be made. Interesting enough, he skips the Viper Strike. Yeah, I can see it. And they're going to go on this Viper, but Tickles might pay with this with his life. Nope. Yeah, that's the downside to having Viper Strike. And with the blink here, Queen of Pain is just pretty safe. They do get the rune here mid. So what can you do? Really good rotations by the Disruptor, you know, understanding that his Drow's fine against this Panda. You know, Panda is getting his levels, getting some CS, but this Drow is clearly just winning this matchup, hands down. It's not that big of a deal for Panda. Anytime Panda can just get some CS, he's pretty happy. He needs XP more than anything. So yeah, Viper is, jeez. I think Viper's just having kind of like the time of his life at this point. Yeah, his CS is kind of low, but like he's drawn so much pressure, and he's almost a full level ahead. He actually is a full level ahead of this Queen of Pain. Queen of Pain's just not going to be able to rotate, not going to be able to do anything. And you see this Queen of Pain like is keeping up in CS, but I'd hazard to say that net worth is down by quite a bit. I think we can start looking at it. Actually, no, not too much. I thought it would be more, but alright. It's only by 150, so good job by the Queen of Pain keeping up. It's really just levels. So yeah. I guess these small camps over here, or I guess a big camp over here, gives a decent amount of XP. The next rune is going to be really important. If whoever gets the next rune, I'm sorry for missing this kill, I think they try to go aggressive on the Razor, but Razor just kind of statically, the Poker just uses his skills, and the Believers is dead. It flips onto the Panda, but good cheat by Tickles to kind of disengage. And now we're just stuck with these 3 farming again, which is, again, kind of favoring the Panda. If you can get kills, it favors the Drow a little bit more. Like, Drow doesn't want a completely peaceful game, right? Like, she's not great at hitting creeps. Oh, Queen of Pain is going to find this double damage rune. Very lucky for her. And then the ulti's coming out. Are they going to get the X mark? They do get the X mark and dead funnel. So good job, good rotation by Piglet. Yeah, a little bit unfortunate for what's it called? The Queen of Pain. She got the double damage rune, but the Kuko was just barely close enough. And alright, Weaver is level 6 now with the Javelin, and I think this is when the Weaver just starts dealing a lot of damage. Yeah, like now is when it's a little bit tough for the Razor to fight anymore. Like you can see here that Weaver is able to just kind of disengage and re-engage. Interesting use of time lapse. Oh man, the Weaver should kind of go on this Razor, but they don't want to hard commit because he might have backup and the Weaver's kind of squishy too. So it kind of goes poke in and out, and Lion's actually here, and this Weaver's just gonna die again. Oh, nice infill attempt, and they get the Kunkka instead. No, Kunkka I think walks out as well, so it's good by Radiant to just disengage, and it's actually gonna be Radiant who gets these kills. Yeah. Great plays by Radiant to just kind of cut these fights out. You know, they're just playing on a razor thin margin, but getting some kills. And Hamidzi is going to be the main threat for Radiant. You know, he's been consistently farming well, getting a lot of kills. And bot lane, I'm sorry, Canada just solo kills the Drow. Yeah, okay. All right, good job, USS. Actually, that's not supposed to happen. Curious as to how that happened. Maybe the Drow just overcommitted, thinking that she could kill the Panda, but Panda's only lucky by Pain yet again, just kind of able to guess the rune. Eh. And unfortunate for the Razor, because, I mean, not the Razor, the Viper. They are going to make an attempt on this Panda. Panda's actually in a spot of trouble. The Disruptor glimpse is going, I mean, not the glimpse, Thunder Strike? Yeah, the Disruptor Thunder Strike is actually going to making it impossible for any jukes to occur. Xbox has got the, they're going on a drought, and they're actually going to kill the drought. Good job by Polo just running to a lane and just killing them and making a quick getaway. And it's very nice, very nice. Weaver is kind of farming the jungle. This is a problem when you first pick Weaver and he is going boots. I do like this decision. You need to go boots when you're this far behind, right? You're not having a free game, and without boots, you're just going to kind of get kited. And meanwhile, in the mid lane, Rotovatos built by the by the Viper, and he's just, oh man, he's just gonna kill the Panda, I think. Yeah, if there's no way the Panda gets out, and I don't think they can kill this Viper even now. Both coming out, and but there's no X mark the spot, so maybe they do just get this Viper. Nope, Rotovator from nice being played with Pyro. He actually just comes out of nowhere and catches the Viper. So a lot of just fighting, and I think the Viper kind of oversteps his boundary. Maybe he could have walked back this way. Just don't feel need, I think, to force the issue after you kill the Panda, but I guess he wasn't expecting to die, not with the Rod of Atos, but again, Polo just finding these small kills here and there, which are giving him a game when he didn't really have one, and now, even though he's down by 1k net worth, he's still the third strongest hero on the map, right? So he can kind of just play around, and Drow Ranger's once happy laning phase is kind of not right now. She is still going to be able to have her Dragon Lance by about 12 minutes, which is pretty decent. You want the Dragon Lance by 11, 12 minutes, and then you want the Manta right after. So, without Manta, you really don't want a hero. So yeah, X-Lauren and I think the line is dead. We need some more water. Smokes the spot, actually catches out the Queen of Pain, and you cannot dodge this. You need Mules. Unfortunately, the Queen of Pain just gets caught out and dies. This is a really rough game for Queen of Pain, because you first pick this hero, there's so many ways to counter it, and Disruptive Glimpse catches out the Ogre, but Ogre is tanky, so I don't see him dying too quickly, but it looks like it's just enough damage. A great silence by the drop on the low ground, but unfortunately they're not actually going to be able to do anything. Their Panda ulti is used, but you're only going to get the Kunkka. You need to get the Disruptor as well, but it's hard because your Panda Spirits are just a little bit too far away. I don't think you're actually going to be able to kill this Disruptor, so man, I'm Kunkka. I'm pretty happy with that. And this Kunkka has really done work. This level 4 X marks the spot by level 8 is just making Dire really pay for any missteps. It's something that they didn't really have game 1. You know, game 1 they have the catch. The one thing I am a little bit worried about is, what is this Weaver's role in this game? Is he supposed to be like the guy who's just pushing out waves, farming? Because the Razor, slowly but steadily getting to a point where he's going to become that big threat again, especially once he gets that BKB. You know, he's not having a great game, but he's still second in his net worth. You know, so Razor is going to be a threat. Viper, let's see what Viper's progression is. He's going Dragon Lance, so he's going for the right click build. I do like this. I think you have to be at least some type of damage as Viper. You can't just be like absolutely nothing, right? Because this hero relies on right clicks too much. And especially with Viper and Drow, you're going to have so much damage coming out from you. So if you ever start hitting like the same target together, just gonna melt. There is a fight, and Drow actually get the kill on this Ogre. So great job again by Radiant, just kind of countering whatever plays Dire wants. Unfortunately, they did not get the kill on this Lion. I think Glimpse was just not in range, or it was already used. Weaver is pushing top tower. Dire's just kind of doing this thing where I think it happens a lot, right? You feel like you're behind, so you stop making plays, right? Like, if you think about the number of plays that Dire has initiated, It's been about 0 for the last 5 minutes. Probably the Panda, but yeah, so this is something that they need to do. Like, they just jump on the drought, you know, you might lose a hero here or two, but you kill this drought, and I think it's well worth it. Yeah, then you don't get lose over as well, but it's a 1 for 1, you know, 2 for 2 now. But you're behind, and you need to constantly be pressuring the drought so that she doesn't keep farming while your Razor is farming his BKB. So I think that is actually pretty worth it for the guy. Yeah, you can see that it's even, but drought's not farming, right? So that's always good. More importantly, I think it shows the other team that you're willing to make plays, because I think Radiant was starting to forget that Dire can actually make plays, right? Like there's no reason Radiant should ever be allowed to just really push a tower, not with a Panda. We can see here, Panda actually just goes in with the ultimate, and I think they're actually going to catch this Viper. I don't know if they can kill the Viper, but they're trying to. And with the Razor here, there's a lot of damage, and I mean, I don't think Disruptor really does anything. They can't really finish the Viper, so Viper just falls to the Razor with the pain. So again, good aggression by Dire to just really counter whatever play that Radiant wanted to make there. And this is also why this tower is so hard to push. You know, it gives so little, and you have to fight into this weird terrain where there's 2 paths coming in, and there's TPs, and you can also get wrapped around from here. And so you can see, like, Panda can just TP from so many different places. That was the Blink reveal. So with the Panda, Dire I think has the real initiation. It's not a great initiation, but it is something. And Radiant have to respect that. In the meantime, Drought was farming a little bit during that fight just because she respawned. And Viper is still massive, right? Viper is probably going to go PKP next so that he just doesn't die. I really like Boots of Travel on Viper, but I can see why you wouldn't. Is Ogre a little bit out of position again? It feels like he is. Next one's a spot, but I think the Ogre walking back towards the Kunkka actually scares him off. So good job by Pinway to just kind of disengage that scenario. And yeah, so yeah, this is why Boots of Travels is so great. Like, if Boots of Travels was on the Viper here, instead of maybe this Dragonlance, right, you could just join this fight, and then push out a wave, or you can push out a wave and join the fight. It gives this hero a lot of flexibility, whereas without it, you run into a situation where you constantly are just fighting because you're not strong enough to otherwise. Kill the Ogre, you know, you're sending a lot of heroes to kill this Ogre. It's not the end of the world. So one thing about this Ogre is, there's just not too much that Ogre is good for this game. Like, he's a body, right? Like, the Bloodless on, especially the Viper, on the Razor, is just a bit of an awkward skill because Static Link, while it does make use of the attack speed, right, it's only like level 25 that you're really going to like have a ton of attack speed, and they actually come to drop. So it's just overkill by Radiant. I don't think they can get everything here. And the BKB reveal from the Razor, and a good scream of pain pushing this Viper over the cliff, and a stun from the Ogre just ends up killing the Viper. Yeah, and another just awkward fight for Radiant. I think they're way too much in a rush to really like get objectives, right? Like, first they had this fight bottom where they try to get the objective, then they have this fight mid where they try to get the objective, and none of it really works. It's just rough. And now the hook is cut, so another death. Dire's lineup is really coming alive now. This BKB was super important for them. It lets the Razors win fights. When previously, if he win fights, he might die in. Viper's net worth has actually kind of gone down, I think, since the last time I saw him. He's been sort of stuck on these two components. And they're going to capture Drow again, I think. I mean, Drow's just having a miserable time. Even if this Drow survives here, it's kind of like I don't know, it's not positioned properly, right? Like, you keep trying to go into the triangle, but there's not enough vision in this area. You need some challenge. Over here, Razor walking in with his BKB, and they're just going to try to Viper again, and Weaver I mean, Weaver's just not been like a hero at all. He just kind of got caught up. But he is actually going to get a kill on this racer, so good job, I guess, by the Weaver. But again, the Queen of Pain and the Ogre just kind of cleaned up. You're going to trade the Ogre for it, but I think he's quite happy. And the Pain goes oddly disruptive. Unfortunately, she no longer go any further. X-Mark spot is coming up on cooldown, but the blink just comes a little bit faster. Oh, the Torrent, is he going to catch him? Ah, very close. Nice try by the Coco over there. The Drow Ranger is looking to get her BKB. I mean, I really think you need to finish this match. I guess she feels like the BKB is just a better option right now because of how poorly her farm is going. But I don't know. That said, despite of Radiant just kind of playing a little sloppy for the last few minutes, the game is still close, right? It's not like the Radiant have. It's not like the Radiant doesn't have a lot of game left to play. Drow scales incredibly well, especially versus the Dire Heroes. Like, it's so hard once Drow gets a bit of damage for Queen of Pink ever just blindly jump in, even with BKB. Drow's BKB's always, like the entire game, always going to be able to fight you. And once your BKB comes out, there's a silence that comes out, and then, you know, it's not too much you can do as Queen of Pain. The problem is, Drow needs a lot more farm. Like, she wants to be, like, up here. And, like, the Drow and the Viper had the Netwoods swapped. I think Radiant will be in good position to win this, but currently I think Dire is just has a few more options in that. And once this axe is completed on the Panda, you're gonna have twice the amount of ultis to really worry about. And one was already annoying enough. Kunkka actually got the Ether Lens. This is a really, really old Kunkka build. It's effective. Don't get me wrong, it's effective, but I'd really like to see something like a Spare Vessel just to deal with the Queen of Pain. You know, like, Queen of Pain loves going in and out of the fight. Spare Vessel makes it very hard for Queen of Pain to safely get in and out of fights. Like, whenever I see a Blink hero, I love the idea of Spare Vessel.
Step lively now.
It's not like a normal counter to it, but it works. So the next item Razor's going for is also Ags. I guess. You know, it does give a lot of damage, like AoE damage. Well, actually, they do see they do see the Drow Ranger with a good ward. But I think Drow Ranger is just gonna farm away from this area, and it's tough to actually make the play. Yeah, like if they were here maybe 2 or 3 seconds earlier, and they were able to catch her farming, then yeah, Drow was probably dead. But I guess good job by the Drow farming in the right direction, not going outwards and being greedy and farming this area, but just kind of staying around this area, just hitting creeps. I think she kind of realized after her last 2 deaths that the team can't really protect her. There's not enough saves, at least until the Ags. So, yeah. One thing I will say is, I don't know how Weaver really plays once you get Maelstrom Ags. Like, are you trying to be a damage dealer, or are you trying to be like that save? Because the reason why Weaver doesn't normally go a damage item into the Ags is because they're like 2 completely different styles, right? Like, if you go damage, you're going to be right clicking, and if you're right clicking, you're not in a position to use Axe. If you're going to get Axe, you want the Ether Lens, you want the max price to use the Axe. So a damage item just kind of doesn't do anything. The Loveling Weaver is kind of confusing to me. He also got the Shard, you know, so he clearly wants to push out waves. It's an idea. It's definitely an idea. And BKB is thinning on the Drow Ranger. I'd like to see the Radiant just kind of smoke his 3 heroes here. It looks like that's what they're prepared for, actually. They're just kind of walking over here. If you smoke with this double BKB timing, I find it very difficult for Dire to pick a fight. There's just too much magical damage on the Dire team. Panda also has the Axe, so yeah, I mean, it's tough to say, right? It's really about who gets the jump. If Radiant's able to just get right on top of the Queen of Pain and kill her early, because she does only have the Cayenne Sange, you're going to have a good fight. But if Dire is able to lock down this Drow before she's like able to press her BKB and get her to like from full HP to half HP, or just straight up killing her, then Radiant's gonna have a hard time fighting. And Viper, even though he's strong, he's kind of like missed the point of the game where he's just kind of unkillable. Right now he's going to still do a ton of damage. He's going to be hard to kill, but there's enough right click I think on Dire to be able to deal with it. And more importantly, I think the Ogre and the Lion are starting to pick up items. And these two heroes, I think, in general, are just incredibly strong with items. Ogre especially. Like this hero, if he's able to cast like 3 or 4 multicasts, so much damage, so much disruption, and you can also blitz your entire team, which I guess the back speed's not so important, but the movement speed was pretty important. So you do have to really think about how Bloodless works. Panda just go in and goes on the Viper, Viper just kind of hits buildings, and Weaver just died. I really don't know what's going on here. Viper from BKB, and he's not TP, but they're trying to kill the Panda. I don't know if they can. Razor comes in and they just run over the route. Another great fight by Dire, and these double BKBs really are not doing too much. I thought it was difficult for them to actually get a fight, but I guess with the how strong the Razor, the Queen of Painter, like once the first load is kind of blown on either of these heroes or on the Panda, the fight just goes so easily for Dire. I mean, the ease of execution of Dire's lineup is way higher, and this protected Drow is not going to work if your Drow just falls over dead in 2 seconds, right? And that's why I think Drow wants this SNY, but you know, I'm not sure I'm feeling it. I think Drow as a hero needs Manta. Like, Manta is extra damage for the Drow. It's a way of kiting back out, and it's a way of disengaging from heroes who normally would just instantly kill you. A good shoot by the Lioness. I think they're going to kill this Weaver. Though unfortunately the goal was missed, and Weaver's just going to run away. And actually, the Razor I did was spotted trouble here. 20 coming out, it's too much damage. Man. Razor oversteps, so a pretty big kill for Radiant. It's just a lot of misplays, I'd say, from both teams this game. I think everyone's just kind of out of their element. Weaver's running in again, and just get blown up. Like, interesting decision, and Kuka TP's out. Maybe this Weaver felt like he was a lot stronger than he was. That was aggression against aggression, you know, like Razor just waltzed in and kind of died here. Weaver kind of waltzed in and died on the other side. Not much macro gameplay going on here. A lot of run at you gameplay. They're able to run at the Viper and kill him too. I'd really like to see Dire just push out these waves, you know, like you push out these waves and actually get some pressure on these towers, so it's easier to control this area. Because right now, just kind of running around between the triangle and the double camp and not getting a ton out of it. Like you can see that you're getting gold because of the kill, but you're not really extending your lead. And Queen of Pain is looking, I think, to get maybe like a Shivas or something next. Or maybe if you don't want Shivas, you can just go for Sheep. Sheep is really good versus the Weaver, and it's really good versus the Drow. It's in the same role. It is decent against Viper too, but Viper's a little bit tankier, so you're not really able to solo kill him. And the Razor is going for Refresher, so some pretty classic items built by both teams. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Drow did complete her SNY. I think in this game, as Drow, you really want to get to your Hurricane Pike plus one big damage item. So maybe your Butterfly before going into the Crypt. And that was stopped by Ogre, and the Aeon just saves the Ogre. Razor is getting jumped down, popped the BKB, sorry, not Razor, Viper, and starts breaking on the Ogre, and then right here, Tidal Wave comes up with the Panda, but doesn't really do anything. They're really killing the Ogre with the Weaver. The Panda gets used, and on the back line, Razor kind of dies the Viper. And where's it down? That was just kind of free farming. Free hitting here, and Queen takes links in, but BKB is up, and I think Paulo is a little bit overextended, but he does blink out with a BKB, and I don't think the Weaver is actually going to be able to kill him. But this is a lot of skills used, and I think the Panda is good too, so yeah, huge overextension by Dire. Feels like they thought that they were a lot stronger than they actually were. Were there any buybacks? No, not even any buybacks, so that's a 4-for-1. And this fight recap is massive for Radiant. You have 2,235. That's a 2K cold swing. Just yeah, I think everyone just thought like they could kill the Drow, but she still had her BKB, and the timing for Radiant still using this gun was a lot better. Right? They were able to pop the Aeon discount the Ogre before almost immediately killing him with the Weaver, and then I think the Weaver just taking in and out of fights, forcing the Dire supports to really use skills on him, and as a result that was completely untouched. The Viper was just kind of hitting stuff along the way, so great job by the Radiant team, and they have Aegis. This is looking a bit scary, or maybe a lot scary for Dire. I don't know how far this Queen of Pain can really carry them. Looking at this graph, yeah, it's 50-50 despite the 5k gold lead, you know, like I think we're in that stage of the game where the pace of the game needs to slow down, right? You're 32 minutes in. You don't need to be constantly fighting anymore. Any real fights here can just be a game decider, especially when there's only 2 buybacks. This tidal wave is going to be rather annoying. Link is actually purchased by the Queen of Pain. I guess it makes sense. You are a little bit scared of X. I mean, it's not the greatest thing when you have to deal with the X once a time, but at the same time, I do think it's a bit of an overreaction. I mean, I doubt it's for Glimpse. Glimpse is just like, if you're getting Glimpse, you can always just BKB it off, and if it's at the end of the fight, then you get Glimpse. I think it means that your team either is disengaging or dying, so this link wouldn't be a really big deal either. Like, I really do think that getting that Shivas first was a better option. Like, it just lowers all the attack speed on Radiant, and Radiant's so attack speed reliant. Those items have not really progressed. He's looking to get the Aghanims. Aghanims is going to be very strong once he's actually able to get it. It's just a lot of disables. The BKBs are running low. I think the Razor's at 6 seconds already. Yep, and I think Queen of Pain's at 6 seconds too. No, 7. And on the Radiant, the Queen of Pain, the Blackwing War and the Drow Ranger's at 7 seconds. I think Hunter Viper is at 6 seconds, 7 seconds too. So it's just a lot of like random things to consider. These fights, it's very chaotic, especially when all these skills are being tossed out at the same time. So it's important that we keep track of like how many BKBs are being used, and it's important that we keep tracking the skills that are used during the actual team fight itself. So, you know, like the bolt's a big skill, and for Razor the double ult's a big skill, and the Razor is getting a lot closer to that double ulti, and once he does, he's gonna be shitting out damage, something that Dire, I think, kind of needs. They're doing this whole thing where like the Queen of Pain has to do a lot of the heavy lifting. The Panda's a disruptor, but not really like a damage dealer, and the Razor's trying to deal damage and kind of getting blown up at the same time. So it's just a tough scenario. Oh, they're going on with the disruptor, and the disruptor is coming off. But he does get a static storm out right before he dies. Maybe they can get a return kill. Viper's coming in from the side. He does have to get his BKB off, so this is problematic. Okay, Viper finally gets his BKB off, but I think he just locked down. He's gonna die. He didn't actually use his CP. And that Drow is caught kind of alone. If he's gonna pop up BKB, yeah, but this is just another team fight loss for Radiant. They're overextending. There's no reason for the disruptor that we've been really be there, and Weaver actually buys back. They're trying to kill the Panda, yeah. And now they're going to Queen of Pain, but Queen of Pain still has Aegis. And a good illusion usage, able to disengage the fight. And I think they catch out the ogre. I mean, it's nice, but the problem is just it's a little too late, kind of, for this type of buyback fight to really work, because buybacks are so important 35 minutes in. Any dieback is massive, and now there's 7 minutes for Dyer to really just kill this Weaver and go high ground. You know, so we'll see how this actually works. Queen of Pain is approaching the Shiva's guard, and Drow Ranger. I mean, I kind of wish Drow Ranger just used that Aegis in that fight. And also, Drow Ranger... Okay, so there's a lot of heroes who do really well with Crystallis. I think Drow Ranger's not really one of them. I think the Drow really want the Shadow Blade first. But maybe this feels like the damage is very important for these... like, there was a sense of urgency it felt in how he bought that item. He felt like he needed the immediate fighting prowess of the Daedalus. I'm sorry, not the Daedalus, of the Crystallis. Aegis is expiring in 1 second, and Dyer need to look into controlling the map again. Losing Panda does mean that they had to forfeit the triangle of the enemy team, but they had a pretty solid clasp on it before. We'll see. We'll see what they actually choose to do. They are looking, I think, to just kind of run on top here. It's tough. There's no real hero that I think is worth killing. You know, nice try with the ogre. I think he spotted so good. He had his hands up to get it. And the other thing is you just want to kill this Weaver, right? Like, the Weaver uses buyback. If you're able to kill this Weaver, you're essentially playing 4v5 for the next 3 minutes or so. And that could lead you to either looking into the next Aegis, if it spawns soon, or if just taking this top tower, taking this mid tower, which are giving Radiant a ton of control. And I think Dyer's just not doing an amazing job of getting the right wave clear. Like, Radiant's constantly doing a really good job of just breaking out of these contains by pushing out a wave and forcing a reaction. You know, like, yes, they lose a few heroes here and there, but it's not the end of the world. And Queen of Pain, I think, has a Shiva as a 1k gold. She's probably going to go for Sheep next, but they need to look versatile. Like, this Radiant team is going to scale so much better. Drow Ranger alone, I think this is such a hard answer. You know, this is the last pick Drow Ranger, and if for whatever reason this Drow is able to get 2 or 3 more items, and get the shard, it's just gonna be so unkillable. Looking at the ogre's progression, he actually has to he's going for the axe. This ogre is going to become a linking carry, quote unquote. I'm surprised he has this much gold. I would imagine he'd be quite poor with the items he has. It's just really tough, I think, for Ogre to farm usually, so I'm surprised he's almost at this axe. They're only 2k away. It feels like a lot of money, but you know, if you ignite a few waves here and there and just steal your carry's farms, I'm sure you'll get there. Yeah, so Drow actually has 3,500 gold, so she has a choice to make here. You can go for like something to deal with the evasion. Like, you can go MKB, it's not a bad choice. Or you can go something like Satanic. Satanic gives you a lot of survivability. The downside of Satanic is if you ever just have Satanic on and you try to right click and the other team is close to you, you're just in a lot of trouble. You know, like, it's difficult. They catch the over on the backside here, and actually I think it's gonna leave the over alive. Yeah, the over just kind of wants it off. I mean, you can see how great Dyer's hiding is. Too big if these are used, and this Viper is just completely unknown. Driving to just put some damage on, but you know, he's almost like the position where she's gonna get silenced and just killed. And they can be popped by the Panda. Dross is not able to, I think, actually hit anything. And now Dross is left alone. Somewhere should be. I don't know if that actually saved or killed the driver. I guess the driver is made the play, made the attempt, and Aegis is coming out soon, so good place by Radiant, and Viper actually bought back. I'm not too sure if that was a play. Maybe it is. Buying back here does make it easier for them to defend. Hopefully they don't use the what's it called? Hopefully they don't use the Drow Ranger buyback. She does have it, but I think Radiant understand that this Drow Ranger needs to just keep farming because she's not big enough for. She's not really big enough to make the impact that you want in these fights, and it's the gold lead has just gone up and up and up, and now it's a blistering 14k, 15k gold lead. So yeah, maybe Radiant's just not really getting to the what's it called? Radiant's just not. Maybe Radiant's just not really respecting Dire enough, and again, they just kind of get run over here. And with all these heroes dead, especially this Kunkka with no buyback, I think this is going to be at least one lane of Rex, if not two. Yeah, just rough for Radiant here. They played a pretty good like early middle game, but just the fact that they weren't able to use their BKB timings meant that the Dire is just able to control the map a little bit better and just keep running at them with this Panda ulti. And now they're going to be able to take this Aegis. I'm thinking who they want to deal it on. Probably the Razor still. Giving it to the Queen of Pain is an idea, but it's not like the Queen of Pain is actually going to die. Excuse me? Yeah, they do give it to the Razor. And they give the Shard to the Razor too, so... And now, I think with all of these items, Razor can look into going Satanic next, and then once it gets Satanic and is just BKB refreshed, you can just walk it down the lane and take the rest. Yeah, surprisingly Radiant was able to actually defend there. And Drow Ranger is getting to her next item pretty quickly. I still think Butterfly is amazing at Drow. It gives you so much damage, and you really need damage this game, right? Like, you're your team's primary damage dealer now that the Viper's kind of fallen off. Viper has AC, but you know, what's AC really gonna do for you? Like, AC is just an item that is really good when you're ahead, and average when you're behind. Like Viper, just BKB TB here. You need to BKB TB. He chooses not to. I think it's just a mistake. You're putting your Drow in such a terrible position, and even though he's so rich, he's just gonna die, you know. And Razor, even though he dies here, he has the Aegis, and I don't think he even dies. Yeah, like he's actually able to just kind of walk it off. Kunkka's trying to fight, but Razor's just gonna stand here. Okay, finally the Razor goes down, and I think every single hero for Radiant's gonna fall in exchange of another buyback for the Weaver. Weaver actually time-lapses back in. Are they able to kill this Weaver? Oh no, this is gonna be a disaster if the Weaver dies. No, he time-lapses right in the middle of the team, and the Sentry is there. Unfortunately they missed, but Shikuchi is not enough to get the Weaver out of dodge, and that's a dieback for the Weaver, so yeah, Drow Ranger is forced to buy back, but Viper has no buyback. Yeah, no one invading his buyback. It's just the Drow defending, and I don't think it is a weird apart from the game. Most people just use the tidal wave. It is pushing back, but it's looking very, very difficult. A good bolt actually lands on 2. Maybe the Drow can make a play here. No, the Drow's just not able to get into these fights. And another tidal wave is kind of pulling the Panda away. The Lion comes in, and they're actually going to go on the Drow Ranger, but she sticks in the base. The Lynx kind of gets rid of half of the damage from this Drow Ranger. They are able to pick up the Lion, and the Panda ulti is expiring, so maybe you might want to, Director might want to respect this a little bit. You don't have enough to really kill this Drow Ranger anymore. I think she's going to be taking it some right clicking, and you know, as a result of that, I think this what's it called? This Drow Ranger is actually going to survive. If she survives, there's enough damage on the field to just kind of Keep this alive. They are thinking of just continuing this, but I really don't think this is a good idea. It's so hard to kill drought here. Oh, but they do it. Alright, that might be GG. Good show by Paula. Only 2-2. A really solid game by Paula. And GG's. GG's. I got a pause it here. So yeah, just final recap I think on these games. Really strong game 1 performance by the Grand Crusade team. They were much stronger, I think, in both execution and in draft. This game 2, I feel like the draft was in favor of PogChimps, but again, the execution from Dyer was just a lot stronger. So they were able to just sort of outplay the Radiant team, who they had catch, but they didn't really have ways of killing the people that they caught. And the Panda was a disruption, like just all around. And eventually we just stopped feeling the impact of the Disruptor and the Weaver. And that's when the game kind of turned. Same thing with the Viper. We just like look at the graphs, a huge gold lead basically throughout. And even though it took a while for Dyer to win the game, they were eventually able to just run it down and just kind of end the game. So really well played, and hopefully Radiant doesn't feel too bad about this. They didn't play particularly poorly. I think they just had worse drafts. Like even the second draft, it was better, but the level of execution was too high. Like the supports were just wonky, and Dyer just picked heroes that were able to run at people and win games. So yeah, GG's guys.